Happening now, a man was arrested in connection with the death of a 7-year-old girl earlier this year. What we know next. Plus, we hear the call from officials to step up aid to children in need.
And we'll have a few scattered showers near the state line today, but then it turns much warmer as we head into the weekend. I'll talk about it next. The News at Noon starts now.
Live and on demand, this is WNY News Now. This is WNY News Now with live breaking news.
And thanks for joining us for WNY News Now on this Friday. We start with some breaking news. New York State Governor Andrew Cuomo just about 10 minutes ago announcing to reporters in a telephone conference call that after looking over the current COVID-19 numbers here across the state, infection rates are low enough to begin to reopen schools in person. Now, the governor says that if there is a spike in rates as we head through the fall semester, actions will be taken across the state. But as of right now, for planning purposes, schools are able to reopen part of some modified plan. Now, here in our area, Jamestown Public Schools specifically is talking about having a half instruction online and half instruction in person. Of course, we will continue to follow this developing story, and as we continue to hear more from the governor and local school officials about their reopening plan, and provide updates on WNYNewsNow.com and on our mobile app. Otherwise, our top story today, New York State Police have charged a Lakewood man in connection with a crash that killed a 7-year-old girl here in Chautauqua County. Troopers say 24-year-old Nicholas Mine Weezer was arrested last night and charged with vehicular manslaughter and DWI drugs. Now, this past February, 7-year-old Emmeline Wilcox was killed in a crash on Route 60 in the town of Pomfret. Officials say the vehicle Wilcox was in was waiting to turn left into a parking lot when it was rear-ended and pushed into traffic. That's where it was struck by an oncoming tractor trailer. The 35-year-old driver of the vehicle Wilcox was in did survive, but she was pronounced dead at Brooks Memorial Hospital. She was a student at Sinclairville Elementary School. In a joint effort to combat harmful algae blooms on Chautauqua Lake, the Department of Environmental Conservation and the Army Corps of Engineers will be conducting an innovative study that converts surface blooms into biofuel and fertilizer. The pilot project, known as Habitats, will collect surface algae blooms by using floating skimmers. Now, once collected, the blooms are detoxified, concentrated, and converted into biofuel. Chautauqua County Public Health Sanitarian Jessica Worstill says the main issue is that some blooms create toxins that can be harmful to humans and pets. She tells us that the nutrient loading in the lake, especially in the more shallow southern basin, from runoff and poorly treated septic systems and fertilizers, is a key component to creating the blooms.
Blue-green algae is a natural part of the Chautauqua ecosystem. It's been here for far longer than we have.
Now, Chautauqua Lake was listed by state officials in 2018 as one of 12 priority lakes in the state needing attention for bloom issues. Well, Congress's self-imposed deadline for a stimulus deal is today, but it appears there's little chance of a bipartisan agreement before the weekend begins. Our John Lawrence reports from Washington.
Talks about the stimulus are in a stalemate. Top White House negotiators say big roadblocks remain after Thursday's 3-hour meeting with Democratic leaders.
We're willing to stay engaged, but I can tell you that the differences are still significant.
House Speaker Nancy Pelosi also disappointed with the discussions.
We have always said that the Republicans and the president do not understand the gravity of the situation, and every time we meet with them, it is reinforced.
The points of disagreement haven't changed much since the sit-downs began.
My frustration is that we could have passed a very skinny deal that dealt with some of the most pressing issues.
We should do something, and we should do something big, and we should do it in a way that is bipartisan, as we have done every other bill.
One big sticking point is aid to state and local governments as they struggle to stay afloat financially after the coronavirus pandemic crushed the U.S. economy and left millions jobless.
The best and really only good way to help the American people is a broad, strong, bipartisan agreement.
If the Democrats are willing to compromise and do something, I think we'll get something done.
I'm John Lawrence reporting.
All right, John, thank you. Coronavirus stimulus money funds, unemployment, politics, even though Governor Pelosi, government and Pelosi are still continuing their talks there in D.C., and we will, of course, continue to update that story as well. Well, as many as 1 in 5 Americans' families can't properly feed their children. This was the message from Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, who this morning visited Feed More, WNY's distribution center in the village of Falconer. Gillibrand says the next benefit package must include expanded SNAP benefits and pandemic EBT benefits, and that hungry children cannot wait for help in getting food.
Parents who are out of work or working fewer hours don't have the money to cover these meals, and this is not an issue that can wait. You can't provide meals to kids retroactively.
A Feed More spokeswoman says the agency has served more than 6.6 million pounds of food since March, which is a 54% increase from last year at this time. They say more than 51,000 bags of food have been distributed to feed children, a 13% increase from last year. Well, we thank everyone so much for joining us here for WNY News Now on this pretty busy Friday. Hopefully everyone is having a good day and enjoying themselves out there. Now let's get a check of our First Defense weather forecast with Chief Forecaster Dakota Hunter. Hey, Dakota.
Hey, Justin, and happy Friday, everybody. We are almost through the first week of August. Here's a live look coming from the Warren City Bank. They're doing some kind of road work down here, especially on the Hickory Street Bridge. And I think if I get out of the way, there you go. We've actually seen some kayakers out there on the river right now. The temperature 78 in Warren, east wind of 6. So the wind, not a factor today. Dew point, little tiny bit up there, but still it's going to remain comfortable for this particular time of the year. First Defense Doppler radar, dry across the region right now, but there will be a chance for scattered showers through the afternoon near the state line. So again, we highlighted that, especially here in the forecast. There will be cloud breaks through the afternoon, otherwise remaining comfortable 75 to 79. But if you have a beach trip planned today, it should be fine. The rain should stay away from the Lake Erie shoreline. Sun and clouds, but look at that Lake Erie water temperature at 77 degrees. The UV index moderate, so sunscreen, I would still put it on just to be in case. But the weekend turns warmer and we go right back into the muggy stuff as we head into next week. I've got the details in a few. Justin?
All right, Dakota, certainly looking forward to it. Thank you, sir. Well, Governor Andrew Cuomo says gyms are highly problematic and will likely remain closed until the state feels that they can open safely. He made the announcement yesterday during his COVID-19 press conference call update. The governor says health experts have listed gyms as high-risk places where residents can easily catch COVID-19.
We know gyms are highly problematic, not from our experience because we haven't opened them, but we know from the other states they've been highly problematic. We know from the other states they opened them and they had to close them. That's a fact.
Now, gyms across the state have formed the New York State Fitness Association. Some of the members, along with New York State lawmakers, urged the governor yesterday to reopen them completely. The state says it's actively considering reopening proposals. However, until gyms get the okay to reopen from the governor, many will remain in financial limbo. Well, when it comes to returning to the classroom, as we mentioned at the top, Governor Andrew Cuomo is okaying teachers and schools to return in person this fall. However, some teachers remain split down the middle. New York State's United Teachers came out with a new poll yesterday showing a major division among the state's educators. The survey says 50% are unwilling or reluctant to go back to in-person instruction this fall. 7% say they're not willing to go back at all. Meanwhile, 50% say they're either willing or eager to return to teaching students in person. 20% say that they're eager to go back to school. Full polling results are posted on our website, WNYNewsNow.com. Coming up next here, the Republican candidate for Chautauqua County District Attorney joins us live to talk about his new Victims First platform. And later, why today honors some of the nation's bravest war heroes. Stay with us as WNY News Now continues.
With coverage that matters. This is WNY News Now.
EagleZip.com is your local one-stop shop for all of your home and business computer needs. Located on Fluvanna Avenue Extension, just outside of Jamestown, EagleZip.com sells and services all brands of desktops and laptops, as well as servers and network equipment for your business. All new computer sales include transferring your data from your old computer, plus a 2-year warranty. Call EagleZip.com today.
Stop by EagleZip.com today and let us make computers easy for you.
I grew up in a single-parent home. We were raised by my mom in a one-bedroom apartment in Queens, and I slept in what was supposed to be a dining room just off the kitchen. We were poor and fell behind in our bills. More than once, our electricity was shut off and there were eviction notices taped to our door. I remember walking into our kitchen and finding my mother standing by the stove, crying to herself because she didn't know what to do and felt helpless. I was about 9 or 10 when our apartment was robbed. I remember arriving home with my mother and brother and finding the door open, feeling confused because the first thing I saw was that our television, a set which forever sat on a stand in the living room, was missing. I know firsthand what it's like to be a victim, to be assaulted, robbed, to have things taken from you which you're never going to get back, and to be scarred by experiences which 30 and 40 years later still haunt me. We're lucky enough to live in Chautauqua County where by and large we feel safe, but unfortunately bad things do happen here. I want to be the district attorney who personally prosecutes the most serious crimes and who's there for victims every step of the way. These are the people I want to represent, to fight for their justice, to fight for our justice in the courtroom, to help people who have suffered at the hands of others. This is why I want to be your district attorney.
You're watching WNY News Now, where coverage comes first.
And welcome back to WNY News Now. This week, the Republican candidate for Chautauqua County District Attorney released more about his campaign platform and what he is dubbing his Victims First agenda. Joining us on the show is attorney Jason Schmidt. Sir, thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
First off, how difficult is it, in your experience, to get victims to, first of all, come forward out of their fears of reliving these experiences?
Well, I think that victims are always in fear of being re-victimized, and especially in the beginning of a case when the perpetrator who has committed the crime is still out there in the streets. I think there's a twofold approach. First of all, you have to have confidence in the community that you've got police and prosecutors that are aggressive and that are willing to make the arrest and be successful at trial and getting convictions. That sets a precedent so that victims are aware going forward that they're going to be able to hold these people accountable. Without that, you're not going to have victims who are confident coming forward. But you also need to be able to handhold with these victims. And that's something that I used to do quite a bit when I was at the district attorney's office. It was so important to me to work with victims right from the front end of the case. I would meet with them and tell them about the process and assure them that we're here for them every step of the way. And that's something that's been just near and dear to me from the moment I set foot in as a prosecutor at the DA's office here in Chautauqua County 15 years ago.
Now, I know you mentioned that your work with the DA's office, you've worked one-on-one with many in the community. Specifically, what type of tactics would you do to help victims who are maybe hesitant to cooperate because they either, as you mentioned, fear retaliation or just in general? I imagine it's hard to relive some of these experiences.
Yeah, this is it's an awful situation. Look, I've been a practicing attorney for 20 years. Been dealing with criminal issues for the last 15 years, been in the courtroom. But before that, I was the victim of violent crime myself. It's just part of my history, and it's something that's ingrained in who I am. And I make sure that people understand that I empathize with their situation. I mean, you're dealing with people that are scared, that they've suffered some kind of horrific traumatic event, and they're scared, and they're not just scared about what happened and the ramifications of what would happen if they go forward against the person that caused harm to them, but they're also scared of the unknown. So it's so important as a prosecutor, as somebody who's dealing with them, to make them aware of what the process is about, to give them the assurances that they need, that they're going to be protected during the process, that we're here to walk them every step of the way until we see this process through. It's a long process. Unfortunately, that's the way our system works. It doesn't resolve itself overnight most times. Sometimes these things can go on for over a year, and it's so important to make sure that they know that we're here for them every step of the way. And that's the number one goal that I have. One of my most important platform issues is to let victims know that I myself will personally try each and every violent and serious crime here in Chautauqua County. It's so important that victims are aware that the top prosecutor in the county is going to take their case on, meet with them personally. That's number one. And then take those cases to trial and be there trying those cases, not passing them off to some underling assistant district attorney who in many cases unfortunately is not experienced or qualified enough to take on those cases at trial.
Now, you're an attorney now. I imagine you've been in Chautauqua County Court. For the public and their perspective, it seems like in any sort of district attorney's office prosecuting on behalf of the people, that the district attorney themselves would prosecute these cases. Is that not happening here in Chautauqua County?
No, it's not. Not with respect to the most serious violent crimes, not really with respect to many of the cases. Now, look, we've got a district attorney's office that has approximately 12 attorneys in that office, and each person has a caseload in and of themselves, and there's no doubt that the district attorney has an administrative responsibility in order to oversee and run the office. But we've got a prosecutor in that office now who fancies himself as an administrator, who has changed the duties and responsibilities of the district attorney from that of the top prosecutor, the trial attorney who takes these cases to trial, to sitting in the office and delegating. That's not who I am. I'm the guy who steps into the courtroom. I'm the guy that takes those cases to trial. I'm the guy that wants to answer, to the police, to the community, to the victims. Whether we win or lose, I myself would be held accountable. That's what's missing right now. That's what's needed right now. That's what Chautauqua County needs.
Now, a lot has changed here in New York State in regards to criminal reforms, specifically discovery reforms have played a big role in the court process. For you, and seeing the changes that have been made, what has changed in regards to dealing with victims now? It seems like there is a lot more on the side of the defense where they maybe have a little bit longer to look over the case and have more opportunities. I know one thing that was a worry was that victims can get re-interviewed by police, but now even in some cases can get re-interviewed by the defense as well. What role does discovery play in that process?
Well, there was a time when in felony cases, the defense did not have a right to discovery until after the case was indicted, and therefore there was a lot of mystery as to what the evidence was against a defendant. And it was difficult for the defense bar to then negotiate in good faith plea deals or to assess any offers that were made by the district attorney's office. But now the laws have changed, and now the district attorney's office is responsible for providing disclosures upfront in the beginning of the case. It's a change that lawmakers have made. That's not the district attorney's role to opine in it. It's the district attorney's role to step in and be flexible. Laws are always changing. We have to deal with those situations. With respect to the concern that victims that the police may have as to the safety of victims, well, listen, there are mechanisms available to the district attorney's office, including orders of protection that can protect the confidentiality of victims and then can protect them from certain information. The point here that I think that the voters need to understand is that with these new challenges require somebody who has the experience that can take these on and can adapt to the changes in the law, because you know what? The law is always going to change. What's important is to have somebody who understands how to conduct a trial, how to handle disclosure issues. This district attorney has had many discovery issues that have resulted in mistrials, even dismissals of cases. That's unacceptable. Those are rookie mistakes that we can't repeat any longer. That's why I'm running for district attorney.
Yeah, and a lot of people are very concerned with the legislation that is passed, which, here in Chautauqua County, a lot of officials like DAs and sheriffs really can't do anything different than what the law says. I know specifically we've seen some high-profile cases, and we've seen people like Senator Borrello speak out against it, but there would be people who normally would be remanded to county jail on bail for whether it would be assaulting someone or what have you, and now they're out almost immediately. The police don't really have any of that discretion, or the judges don't have that discretion anymore.
Well, that's correct. Listen, we have good representatives in office. State Senator Borrello, Assemblyman Andrew Goodell. We have Tom Reed. Those people, we can entrust them to enact the legislation that's needed. Do I personally agree with them? The truth of the matter is, it doesn't matter what the district attorney's office feels. It's up to the district attorney to adapt to those changes to get the job done. The concern that I have on behalf of the community, the concern that a lot of the police have, is that the district attorney's office is not adapted to any of the changes. The district attorney's office is not capable to handle what's occurring now. And as a result, over the last 4 or 5 years, it's done a very poor, dissatisfactory job and hasn't serviced this community very well. So yes, there are bail reform laws. I might have an opinion that those laws don't service the community, but then again, I don't think that that's my place to worry about that. It would be my place as district attorney to work within the framework of the law and get the job done.
So specifically, do you have any plans to try to implement that flexibility that you're talking about? Does it really just come down through the boots on the ground presence there in the DA's office and in the courtroom?
What it comes down to is prioritizing courtroom activities, conviction rates, getting the best possible dispositions, working hand in hand with law enforcement, and accentuating the force multiplier effect that you get when you work in partnership with the police. Some of the historical, stuff that's occurred over the last 4 years is just unacceptable here. It's not acceptable to the police. I would urge the viewers to talk to the police in their community. Find out if it's acceptable. Find out if they're comfortable with what's happening, how well the district attorney's office has done here. We've got some good young prosecutors that need proper leadership in that office. This isn't on-the-job training. Frankly, Mr. Swanson has had 5 years of on-the-job training and nothing has changed. So when you ask me whether it's a matter of boots on the ground, I think you're referring to whether there could be additional funding for the district attorney's office. The truth of the matter is that the legislature has increased the district attorney's office's budget each and every year. Mr. Swanson has not made the most of that budget. He's certainly not producing wins. In the private sector where I'm from, that's unacceptable. If we had somebody who worked for us and wasn't doing the job that they were charged with doing, what would we do? We would unfortunately have to let that person go and change the position so that we can put somebody else in that person's position who gets the job done. That's really the decision that the voters have to make on November 3rd, and that's why I'm running for district attorney, because I know that I can do a much better job than what's been done before. I know the community hasn't been serviced very well with the current administration. It's time for a change. It's time to restore confidence to the community.
All right, Attorney Jason Schmidt, the Republican candidate for Chautauqua County District Attorney, joining us today. Sir, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you for having me.
Now let's get a check of our weather forecast with Dakota.
All right, let's talk about fog, because we've got a little bit of fog that's going to be developing overnight tonight. So again, you know, we've showed this graphic before, but just kind of want to remind you, how does fog develop? Well, it happens when we have partly cloudy or clear and cool nights. What happens is the cool air stays up, of course, on the hills, and then it sinks down into the valley locations, where in the valleys you stay cooler at night. So the valley locations, that's where it reaches the condensation point, and then you get fog. So we're going to have a little bit more of that to go through. And here's another sign that fall is on the way. It's kind of depressing when you think about it. Our average high goes down to 79 degrees today. Thank goodness. Well, at least, you know, climatologically. And we're going to fall all the way down until January 18th, where we bottom out at 32 degrees for the average daily high. And we won't actually start going back up again until February 4th, when it goes up to 33. So yeah, the cooler days are definitely coming here. So essentially, you know, just a few thunder showers near the state line today. Not everybody is going to get wet, and it's going to be a spotty chance at that. Sunshine comes back tomorrow. We stay comfy through at least Sunday. And then as we head into Sunday into early next week, the mild and muggy stuff looks like it's going to be returning. Live look outside from on top of the Doubletree Hotel shows you mostly sunny skies. 72 as a noon hour. Northeast wind of 6. Dew point just a little bit up there at 61 degrees, but all in all, not bad. That's still comfortable for at least this time of the year. Now, looking down the road here, this is the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. Notice all this red area here, basically across the Great Lakes. That is a above average chance for warmer than average temperatures, at least over the next 8 to 14 days as the jet stream pulls north. It allows a heat ridge to set up basically to our south. So again, the warm stuff is going to be coming our way. First Defense Doppler radar shows you nothing on the live scan right now, but what's happening here is we have like a high pressure ridge set up here. One here, one here. This is going to be moving like this. So we have a high pressure ridge, a stationary front down to our south, which is producing some showers and thunderstorms to our south. And that stationary front right there is going to be the boundary for at least a few showers across the southern tier. You'll see a future scan showing that to you mainly across the state line today. Notice how it's sparse coverage. So not everyone is going to get wet. Not everyone is going to get a shower today, but where it does form, best chance is going to be near the state line. Early shower tonight. Valley fog sets up tonight. Temperatures not bad. And then tomorrow will be a great day with lots of sunshine, and we continue that going all the way until Sunday. So 55 to 63 tonight, an early shower. Patchy valley fog sets up by the morning. So if you're an early bird tomorrow morning, keep your eyes on some of the fog. Now, here comes the future in high definition. 79 tomorrow, 83 on Sunday. A great weekend for you, but the humidity comes up on Sunday as well, so keep that in mind. Monday, we have a chance for afternoon showers and storms, mid-80s. Some spots likely upper 80s, depending on your locality. Another storm system crossing the region on Tuesday. More widespread showers and storms down to 81, but we stay above average throughout much of next week in the lower to mid-80s. Justin?
All right, Dakota, looking like summer. Thank you, sir. Well, it's time to mark a day to honor a military hero because it's National Purple Heart Day. The Purple Heart is America's oldest decoration for military merit. It was created by General George Washington in 1782. And today, the Purple Heart bears his image in the Washington family crest. Now, 6 soldiers earned the Purple Heart during the Revolutionary War. Before World War II, the honor was presented to soldiers for any singular meritorious action. But since 1944, requirements limited the award to only those who were wounded or killed in combat. Now, there's no full record, but it's estimated nearly 2 million Purple Hearts have been awarded since its creation. Certainly, we thank our brave soldiers for their service to our nation. That's going to do it for us today. Of course, news continues 24/7 at WNYNewsNow.com. We return Monday with a brand new show for a brand new week, so we hope to see you back here at noon. We'll leave you with this live shot over Chautauqua Lake. Have a great weekend.